Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important frameworks for understanding why we love the way we love and why we struggle the way we struggle and why our past is still quietly shaping every close relationship we have today. I've spent many years sitting with the topic of attachment, both in clinical work and in my own life. And by the end of this video, I hope you have a little more insight into what attachment actually is, how it formed in you long before you had any say in it, and the four primary attachment styles and how they show up in adult relationships, and what to begin to do about the patterns that you carry. So, if you have ever found yourself in a relationship, whether it be romantic, friendship, family, and you watch yourself respond to that person in a way that surprised you and not in a good way, or maybe you got more anxious than the situation really called for and thought, wow, that was extreme. Or maybe you pulled away when you actually wanted to lean in, or tested the other person to see if they would still be there and then resented them for not passing the test. I've also seen this. So maybe you have found yourself longing for closeness, getting it, and then suddenly wanting space. Or what about this one? Watching yourself become someone in the relationship that you don't fully recognize. And if any one of those sounds like you are a combination, then what we are describing is attachment. So come on inside. Let's explore this topic together. So here's a little background information before we hop in. Attachment theory was developed in the 1950s and 60s by a psychologist named John Bowlby. He was trying to understand something specific, and that was what happens to children when their primary caregivers are emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or unsafe. And what he discovered, and what decades of research has since confirmed, is that we are wired from birth for connection. Our nervous system literally develops in relationship to the people who care for us in the first few years of life. So if our caregivers were consistently responsive, if they soothed us when we were upset, attuned to our needs, and showed up reliably, our nervous system learned that connection was safe. And if, on the other hand, our caregivers were inconsistent, sometimes available, sometimes not, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, then our nervous system learned that connection was unpredictable and required vigilance. And then if our caregivers were emotionally unavailable, dismissive, or unsafe, our nervous system learned that connection was painful and protection was the safer strategy. And this is the part that is most important, I think, to really lean into. And it is that attachment is not a personality trait. It is not a choice. It is a nervous system pattern encoded in your body before you could even speak. And it does not disappear in adulthood. It shows up quietly, persistently, often unconsciously, in every close relationship you have today. There are four primary attachment styles. I'm going to walk through each carefully because I want you to recognize yourself accurately and not just a caricature. So secure attachment, those are people with secure attachment generally feel comfortable with both closeness and independence. They can ask for what they want and what they need. They can give space without anxiety. They trust that conflict can be repaired. They do not idolize their partner, and they don't collapse when their partner has a hard day. About 50 to 55% of the population is securely attached. If this is you, much of what follows in this video may help you understand the people you love who are not. And if you grew up insecure and have done significant work to become more secure as an adult, the research is clear. Secure attachment can be earned. It is not only determined by childhood. Anxious attachment, sometimes called preoccupied, people with this anxious attachment style crave closeness deeply, but live with the persistent fear that the people they love will leave, withdraw, or stop caring. If this is you, it may look like frequently checking your phone for a response and feeling activated when it does not come. Reading into small shifts in tone or behavior and assuming the worst, or feeling the need to over-explain, overgive, or overperform in relationships. Difficulty being alone or with stillness in your closest relationships. It could also feel like a persistent low-grade fear of abandonment, even in relationships that are actually stable. Anxious attachment usually develops when caregivers were inconsistent, present and warm sometimes, distracted or unavailable other times. So the nervous system learned that connection was real but unpredictable, and so it became hyper attuned to any sign that connection might be slipping. Avoidant attachment, sometimes called dismissive. People with avoidant attachment value independence highly and tend to pull back when relationships get emotionally close. If this is you, it may look like discomfort with emotional intensity, even positive intensity, a pattern of withdrawing when someone wants more from you, difficulty asking for help or expressing needs. It could also feel suffocating by closeness, even when you genuinely care about the person. A tendency to end relationships before they end, or to keep one foot out the door, even in good relationships. So, avoidant attachment usually develops when caregivers were emotionally unavailable, dismissive of emotions, or expected the child to be self sufficient too early. The nervous system learned that needing other people was not safe, so it adapted by suppressing the need. The disorganized attachment, sometimes called fearful avoidant, this is the most complex pattern and the one most associated with early relational trauma. People with disorganized attachment want closeness intensely and fear it intensely at the same time. They often experience relationships in both desperately needed and deeply unsafe. If this is you, it may look like a pattern of pushing people away and pulling them back in tense relationships that feel almost addictive. Difficulty trusting even good people, strong reactions to perceived rejection or abandonment. It could look like a sense that your closest relationships are also your most chaotic ones. Disorganized attachment usually develops in environments where the caregiver was both the source of comfort and the source of fear. The nervous system never had a chance to develop a consistent strategy because closeness itself was unsafe. Here is what attachment theory does not always make clear in the textbooks. These patterns do not show up only in romantic relationships. They show up in friendships. They show up in family relationships. They show up in your relationship with your supervisor, your therapist, your colleagues, your community. They show up in how you respond to people who care about you and in who you choose to let close in the first place. So I want to name a few of the most common adult patterns that I see. And the first is the anxious partner with the avoidant partner. And this is one of the most common and most painful pairings in adult relationships. And it's because the anxious partner wants closeness, the avoidant partner wants space, the anxious partner pursues, the avoidant partner withdraws. The pursuing makes the avoidant pull further away, and the pulling away activates the anxious partner's deepest fears of abandonment, which causes them to pursue harder. Both people end up exhausted and convinced that the other is the problem. The dynamic is the problem, and the dynamic is being driven by two nervous systems that learn different lessons about how to stay safe in connection. The next pattern is the disorganized pattern in adult relationships, and this one often looks like a series of intense, dramatic relationships where the highs are very high and the lows are very low. It can include cycles of breaking up and reuniting, of clarity and confusion, of feeling deeply known and completely abandoned within the same week. And people with disorganized attachment often describe themselves as someone who loves hard or feels everything deeply, and they do. But the intensity is also their nervous system's way of trying to make sense of connection in the body that learned that closeness was both essential and unsafe. And then the other pattern that I recognize is the friendship patterns. The anxious attachment shows up in friendships as feeling left out easily, taking it personally when a friend is busy, or maintaining friendships through over effort or over explaining. The avoidant attachment that I see shows up in friendships as keeping people at arm's length, going long periods without reaching out, or maintaining many surface level friendships and few deep ones. These are not character flaws, they are the nervous system patterns playing themselves out in relationships closest to us. Many people learn about attachment styles, they recognize themselves in one and immediately move to try to fix it. And I want to gently challenge that impulse, because attachment patterns are not bad habits to be eliminated. They are nervous system adaptations to environments that were not safe enough, consistent enough, or attuned enough for a small child to feel okay in. Your nervous system did not develop these patterns to sabotage you. It developed them to protect you. And it learned these strategies before you had any conscious choice in the matter. So the question is, what was my nervous system trying to protect me from? And is that protection still serving me now? The patterns that keep you safe or kept you safe at 5 years old may be the same patterns costing you connection at 50. But it took 5-year-old you's entire nervous system to develop those patterns, and it will likely take adult you's whole life work not to eliminate them, but to become aware of them, to soften around them, and slowly invite something different. I want to offer 4 things to begin noticing this week, because awareness is always where change begins. And these are not therapeutic interventions. They are not assignments. They're simply invites to look more honestly at patterns that you may have been carrying without realizing it. And the first is to just notice your activation patterns in your closest relationships, in your romantic, your friendship, and your family relationships. Pay attention to what activates you. Is it when someone takes too long to respond? Or is it when someone wants more from you than feels comfortable? Or maybe it's when conflict arises, or when you sense someone pulling away. The thing that activates you is not random. It is your nervous system telling you something about what it learned to fear most. The second is to notice what you do when activated. Do you pursue? Do you withdraw? Maybe you test, you numb out, you get angry, you get quiet, you spiral. Your response is also not random. It is your protective strategy, the one your nervous system learned worked best to keep you safe in your earliest relationships. And then the third is to name the pattern without judging it. This is the most important one. When you notice yourself in an old pattern, the temptation is to spiral into self-criticism. We tend to say things like, why am I like this? Or why can't I just be normal? That spiral does nothing. Instead, I want you to try to name what is happening with curiosity. Be more curious, like, oh, there's that part of me that feels abandoned right now, or there's that part of me that wants to disappear. Naming the pattern without judging it is the beginning of changing it. And then the fourth thing I want you to notice is to get curious about secure connection. If you grew up with insecure attachment, secure relationships can feel boring or suspicious or even uncomfortable at first. Your nervous system does not recognize calm as safe because calm was not what it learned love feels like. So if you find yourself in a secure relationship and your body keeps waiting for something to go wrong, that is not a sign that something will go wrong. It is your nervous system trying to make sense of a pattern that it does not have data for. So give yourself time to learn it. I want to close with something that is both true and important, and that is attachment patterns can change. The research on this is now extensive. Neuroplasticity does not stop at childhood. With awareness, supportive relationships, and often the help of therapy, people move from insecure to what is called earned secure attachment. It's not fast, it's not easy, but it is possible. And the fact that you are watching this video, that you are willing to look honestly at your patterns and to learn about the patterns of others, this is not a small thing. Because most people spend their entire lives blaming themselves or the people that they love for dynamics that they were never given the framework to understand. So you are choosing something different here, and that is the beginning of every change worth making. If you saw yourself in this video anywhere, I want you to have a clear takeaway. You are not broken. You're not too much. You're not too distant. You are not too needy. You are a person carrying nervous system patterns that made sense for the environment you grew up in. And you have every right to gently, patiently, and compassionately learn something different now. It is not too late. It is exactly the right time. Before you go, I want to invite you to reflect on something. Which attachment style did you see yourself in most? Was it the anxious, the avoidant, the disorganized, or somewhere in the middle of more than one? Maybe it was the secure. And if you feel called to drop one word in the comments, maybe it's anxious, avoidant, disorganized, secure, or maybe the word learning, I would love to know that you were here. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploring possibilities for the heart and mind. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.